AI skills can make your AI workflows more reliable, more repetitive, and more consistent. I like to think of them as they are an SOP, a standard operating procedure, but for an AI. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the whole process on how you can actually create skills inside Claude that can help you get real work done. Although I've been using Claude throughout this demonstration, you can use other tools that have the skills. For example, you can use OpenAI's Codex or you can use Antigravity. The skills are an open standard, so they work across all of these platforms. So in this video, I'm gonna explain to you everything you need to know about what a skill is, how it looks. I'm going to show you examples, real examples that I actually use day to day. We're going to talk about the two different kinds of skills, and I'll also show you what an agent first and a chat first skill is and how you can make the decision on which one you should be making. And then I'm going to show you how to create a skill, how to test it, and how to share it with others, maybe your team members or your clients, so they can also benefit from the skill. Let's get started. So what is a skill? A skill in its basic essence is just a text file that explains an AI how to do something. This is, for example, my writing style skill. And when Claude invokes this skill, it can write more, it can write a lot better in my voice. And I have been using and perfecting this skill over and over again. I think I made this around half a year ago. I trained it on a lot of material that I had, and the AI put together this skill based on how I write. So this is the most basic one. Then the whole skill is just a text file. So as you can see here, this is my writing style skill, and you can see that this is just a skill.md, which stands for markdown. This is a file, and it's just a text file. All of them have a name and a description in what we call a front matter, and then they have a body, which is the actual skill. There are more complex skills. For example, my auto skill creator skill also has a skill MD with the same front matter, and it has a obviously different body, but it also has some other things. It has agents, which are in this case 3 different markdown files. It also has some assets. In this case, it has a license file because this is Anthropic's original skill that I modified a little bit to better fit my needs. There could also be a README file, which in this case, I just wrote it for myself, so I know where I got this from. And this one also has some reference files, and it has some scripts, which are Python files, as you can see, Python files that the AI can run when it needs to. And as you can see, the skill file itself references these agents and the references files so that the skill, the AI, when using the skill, understands what to use when. There are 2 main types of skills. One is where you just teach an AI how you do a process, so that makes the process more standardized. This would be very similar to my writing style skill, where I'm not really giving the AI anything new, like a new capability to work with. I'm just telling it how I like to do things. And for a business, this is very useful because your business is basically a sum of all of these SOPs that tell everybody how the business operates. And the second type of skill is one that increases the AI's capabilities in a field that it wasn't really trained on. For example, I have this make.com blueprint builder skill because I saw that Claude was really bad at generating the JSON files that would actually be valid scenarios. So what I did is I gave it all of my previous blueprint files and I asked it to read through all of it and create this skill for yourself. It actually consumed a couple $100 of tokens to actually build this. And you can see that there is, again, a skill file that just explains what we are doing here, and it references all of these different things. And then there are other reference files on how do you build flow control in Make? How do you do the blueprint structure? What are some architecture patterns that you need to understand? It also has blueprint examples. I don't even know what some of these are actually, because the AI made this and the AI uses it. So I don't even need to fully understand what is here. I think these are actual blueprint files that I had, and it kept these as reference files here. And it also has a bunch of different reference files on how to use each module. So how to use the Claude module, how to use the OpenAI responses module, how to use Gmail, how to use Slack, how to set up the integrations with ManyChat, Airtable, Google Calendar. As you can see, it doesn't have all of the make.com modules, but it is trained on the most common ones that I use. So when I use this skill, it can actually build a decent make.com blueprint. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the training that Claude had on this. Make.com is an automation platform for those of you who don't know, and you can create these automations very similar to N8N or Zapier. So I built a skill for myself, and I also share this with my community, so we can have support from an AI to actually do these things. So you can see this is an example of a skill that enhances the capabilities of Claude, because Claude was not trained well on make.com module building. Okay, so now that you understand these two, the first decision you need to make before you create a skill is whether you want to create an agent first skill or you just want a chat skill. The difference between the two is that the agent first skills can use the scripts and it can use the sub agents if those are defined inside the skill, and they can do more powerful things because the agents will run inside what we call an agent harness, for example, Claude Code or Claude Cowork, where it has access to your files, your folders that you select, and it can do work within those files. It can create new files, it can reference other files, it can read, it can modify, even delete some of your files. So an agent first skill can be used for a lot of powerful things. For example, this auto skill creator skill that I've shown you before has this agents folder, which only works inside Claude Code and Cowork. And it also has the scripts which work a little bit inside chat, but if the script requires to do something that needs a terminal command access or something like that, and it has the scripts which do work inside chat, but the scripts might not fully operate because they might require certain capabilities that are only given in the Claude Code or the Cowork work environments. Another thing to keep in mind is, for example, with this front-end design skill that teaches Claude how to make beautiful front ends, it is going to be a lot more useful for you if the front-end design skill actually works inside Claude Code and Cowork, where it can set up the whole folder structure. It can help you to actually deploy that folder into GitHub and then deploy it to the internet. Whereas if you just start it inside the chat interface, it will only give you an HTML file that you have to download, and then you have to figure out the rest. So even though this is just a skill, it works a lot better inside the agent harness. So my recommendation to you is get familiar with Claude Cowork, get familiar with Claude Code, and start using skills in those environments because they will be more powerful, because they have more capabilities and they operate inside your system. Just make sure you set everything up super safely. And if you're just a beginner and you haven't even tried Claude Code or Cowork, then it's totally fine if you just start with a basic one skill MD file skill, where it's just a text file that's standardized on a process that you have. So let's do this. I'm inside Claude right now, the desktop app on Mac. It might look a little bit different depending on what operating system you have or when you're watching the video. As of right now, you need to go into this Customize tab on the left, and on the top you will find Skills. So click on that, and you will not see any personal skills here probably because this is the first skill you're making. So click on the plus icon, click on Browse Skills, and here you will find a skill creator. So you can also just type in skill creator, and there is a plus sign here that you can just turn on. And once you have that, it should show up here. And you can see it has a skill file, it has agents, it has assets, eval viewer, references, scripts, and so on. So you can either go back and start a new chat, or you can go on the top right here on these three dots and just click try in chat. This will also start a new chat. Make sure you use the most powerful model available to you at the moment. When I'm recording this video, I have Opus 4.7. Once you have that, then you can just type in whatever kind of skill you want to make. Let's say that you frequently create proposals for clients after a meeting. So you want to create a skill that creates proposals in the way that you want the proposals to be sent out. So you can just say, hey, create a skill that creates proposals in the way that I would like. Here is a reference proposal. Remove any sensitive details or client information and save that as a reference file inside the skill. I've put in a reference proposal, and all you need to do is just send it, and it's gonna start creating the skill. Now it's giving me this error that the tool result cannot be submitted. It's only been happening for a couple of days. It's probably nothing. So what it does now is it reads this skill creator skill. So whenever you use a slash command with the skill's name, or you just mention the skill, it is going to call that skill in, and it's going to give all that training into the AI so it can do the job for you. And you can see that it was also smart enough to figure out that it also needs to check my writing style skill just to align the proposal voice with my broader voice. So you can see it's building a distinct skill called proposal writing, and now it's taking its time to actually create the whole thing. It creates the skill folder structure, creates the markdown file, and so on. So now we can see that it created an example proposal while it removed client identifying details, and now it's creating the main skill.md. So this skill is going to be very similar. There's going to be one skill MD file, and then there's going to be an example proposal. There you can manually add more examples if you want, but that's the main idea. And now an interesting thing happened that I already have a draft proposal skill installed. So what should I do? In this case, I'm just going to keep both and name this new one differently. So you can see that now we have this proposal writing skill, and the structure is that it has the skill MD file, and then there's a references folder, and then there's an example proposal. And you can see all the details are actually redacted, and it just has the main overlying structure. It's glad it kept the 100% upfront in. Okay, so now that we have it, we could go a little back and forth about things if we wanted to change. You could say, oh, remove, I don't know, like steps 9 or 10. For the sake of this demonstration, what we're going to do is we're just going to save the skill with this button. Now the skill is saved. You click on manage and it brings you back to your skills. And now you can see that the proposal writing skill here is saved. If you want to edit it, you can go and edit it with Claude, which is going to just send this prompt and you can say whatever you want to edit. Or you can even download it. And in this case, it's gonna download it as a .skill file that you can just send to someone else. You can also use the .zip, but just make sure that the skill MD file is in the main folder and their subfolders are referenced appropriately. If you then want to upload a skill, you can click on create a skill. You can upload a skill, and this is where you just have to open it and upload it. It already has the proposal writing skill, so I'm just going to upload and replace. Now this was the basic skill with just one skill file, and in this case we had a reference file. Let me show you how this actually works in the hardcore version inside Claude Code. Okay, so let me show you this other one. I'm gonna walk you through the whole chat history. So what I did is I found this Claude legal skill somewhere on the internet, and I did a full security review. There are no hidden prompt injections and no hidden scripts in it. And this was only for reviewing contracts. And I told my auto skill creator to read the Claude legal skill main and give a plan on how you could make a contract writer skill from what's in there that makes good contracts for small business owners. It went through exploring that skill, verified the plugins. There's already a contract drafting folder because I'm working on a small business plugin as well. I've got a clear picture, it says, and it found this skill. So it gave me a plan on how to do it. And it asked me whether I want to, it asked me these questions. There's already a contract drafting skill in OneDraft that overlaps heavily with what you're describing. Which direction should I take? And I selected the enhanced existing drafter that was recommended. Which contract types should the skill prioritize? I picked all 7 types. And what's the jurisdiction default? I said mainly US and Western EU support. It's a skill we're making for my customers, so it should be flexible. Then it gave me a plan on how it wants to modify the skill. So it said files to create or edit. This is going to be the structure of the skill. So skill MD, references with these files, and then there's going to be a type checklist inside the references folder with these markdown files. And then it gave a little 5x5 detail on what's going to be inside these skills. And I just said go, and it just built the skill. So it cooked the plan for 5 minutes. Then it wrote all of these files on its own. Yeah, was done fully without my interruption, I think. Yeah. So what the auto skill creator does in this case is it not only writes the skill, but it also has a process to grade the skill. So what it does is it spawns a grader sub-agent, and it handles all 6 runs efficiently. The 6 runs are basically, it writes 3 prompts that a user using this skill would use, and runs each prompt with and without the skill. So that would be 3 times 2 equals 6 runs. And then it creates a benchmark file. This is all done by the skill creator made by Anthropic. It creates a benchmark file. You see, this is where Python scripts are important, because this and the agent, because now we are in the Claude Code harness where it can actually create sub-agents. It also works inside Claude Cowork. It can create the sub-agents. It can give the agents the task. And in this case, you can see that it used 96,000 tokens, which was not consuming the tokens of this whole history, which has 1 million tokens with Opus 4.7, but it's better to not waste 100,000 on something that a sub-agent can handle. It also added a summary field for the grading JSON, and this is the benchmark on what we see. So to explain this, what's going on is we have a metric, and it created an eval for itself that the skill needed to pass. And what we can see here is that with the skill, the pass rate was 100%, whereas without the skill, the pass rate was only 82%. The average time to do the task was a lot higher with the skill, which makes sense because the skill file is a lot of text that the AI needs to read and process. And then it obviously used more tokens as well when it was running with the skill. But what we can see is that with the skill, it actually performs better. And this is built into this testing. So now what we can do is we can go and look at this review HTML file, and we can look at the outputs of the skills. So let's do that together. So all of these files were created by the skill, and we need to open the review HTML. And what we can see here is that on the right side, you can see that this is 1 of 6. There's a next button right behind my face here. So I can switch between with skill or without the skill. Actually, there was no prompt here. It was just kind of weird. Something went wrong with the prompt, which I'm not sure about. Maybe the way that I opened the file, it doesn't find the prompt. But what we can see is that now we had a contract draft for AI transformation services. And there was here's a draft. It also had like some weird conversation. Here was this user, me, user. I guess it gave itself some fake conversation context. But we have the contract here written by the legal skill. And let's just compare that quickly with the one that was without the skill. Yeah, it's the same AI transformation services, 15K for 6 weeks. So the prompt was sent, but for some reason this didn't bring it in. Intake questions. And then there we have the draft here. I'm not a lawyer, so it's very hard for me to review this skill, which is kind of maybe a topic for a separate conversation. It also has Exhibit A. So it already did a pretty good job. And what we can do here is we can also give feedback. Like, what do you think of this output? I could type in, oh, I like it. Could be better. I don't know. I don't know how, because I'm not a lawyer. So obviously this feedback here is not that relevant for me right now. But if I wanted to change anything, like maybe I wanted to remove certain things, or maybe I wanted to add a few more things, I could add this review. I'm just going to say test review here. And you can go through all 6 of these, go through the skill, read the whole thing, see which one you like better. And then once you're done, you click on submit all reviews, and that's going to download the feedback JSON file. And what you need to do is you need to copy this, and you should move it inside wherever the skill creator was working in. So I'm just going to paste it in here, and I can keep going with, no, just resume full session as is. I gave you feedback, read it. And now as I move the file inside the folder, the AI should be able to figure out that the feedback JSON is there. See, it's searching for a pattern. Let's open this up. It's searching for feedback JSON. It's not going to find it because it's feedback 1 JSON. Let's see. See, it's looking for workspace downloads, home downloads. I'm not going to allow that. You couldn't even find it. But I'm just going to say feedback 1.json. Yeah. Or another thing I could have done is if I selected the file, I could right click on the bottom row here and actually on the file at the end, and you can right click, copy as path name, and then it could find it. It read it. Your feedback is just a test review. You see, so it brought that in. And now just for demo, package this skill into a .zip file. We can upload to Claude. And while it's loading this, the reason I use Claude Code in this terminal interface and not the non-terminal interface is mostly this, is mostly this status line that I have, which tells me how deep I am into my context window, how many tokens I have left for free, and just a fun stat. Of how many API tokens worth of usage this would have been. And now we have the zip file. So you can see this is the contract drafting zip. I'm just going to quickly move it into my downloads folder. And you can go back into Claude, click on plus, create a skill, upload a skill. We're going to upload the zip file. Hopefully it packaged it correctly. Yes. So now we have, wait, what? Oh yeah, contract drafting. So now we have the skill, and here are the references, red flags, benchmarks, type checklists, and so on. You can share the .zip file the same way with your customers, with your team members, or even share it for free in return for email addresses if you want. But that's how you actually build skills inside Claude. I hope this video was not too overwhelming and you could follow the process step by step. I didn't really introduce myself in the beginning of the video because I don't like wasting time with that. But if you're still here, hi, my name is Dave. I help entrepreneurs implement AI solutions into their businesses without writing any line of code or anything complex like that. I mostly help them use Claude and help them create skills and help them standardize their processes and make their teams more efficient. So if you're interested in that, I have the Paladin Guild, which is my AI implementation community that you can join. You can click the link in the video's description. I'm also open to consultations or private work. So if that's interesting to you, you can also find the link below. And if you have any follow-up questions, maybe I was too fast somewhere, maybe I missed something, maybe you have follow-up questions on another related topic, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be making more videos answering those questions, or I will just jump into the comments and answer that for you. Thanks very much for being here. If you like this video, if you actually did, just hit the thumbs up. It really helps the algorithm. And if you're new here and you want to see more stuff like this in your feed, definitely subscribe right here. Subscribe to my channel and watch maybe a related video here that the algorithm gives you on what you should be watching. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.